Hello, Sharon, and anybody else who has knee issues. I'm going to show you some yoga poses that you can do to strengthen around your knees and to get some range of motion without actually putting a lot of pressure on your knees. So it might help, I hope. Give it a try. And again, if anything doesn't feel good, don't do that pose and just stop. So I printed out the poses for you and I'll attach this in our group. So we're going to start lying down. Have a chair handy so you can use it to stand back up with a little bit of leverage as you're getting up from the mat. And I'm going to use a yoga block. But if you don't have a yoga block, you can just roll up a towel, wrap some rubber bands around it, something that's maybe 3 to 4 inches wide. And I'm also going to use a yoga blanket and have it rolled up. But you can use a beach towel or any blanket that you have at home. So we're going to start sitting down and recline all the way down. I'm going to turn this way. So just go ahead, and the best way to sit down, I like to grab behind my thighs with my hands and just roll all the way down. So let's start with just a little bit of low back release, because if you have tension and pain in your legs, a lot of times it travels up and causes low back tension also. So very gently, just bring both knees up towards your chest. You can hold behind your thighs or your shins, whatever's comfortable. Just pull those knees gently towards your chest and just rock back and forth. It's just a really nice way to release some tension in your low back. Maybe take your feet straight up towards the ceiling. Roll your ankles. Anytime that you can lay down and put your feet up, it's really great for swelling of any kind, especially in the ankles, but in your whole legs. You could do this leaning up against a wall or with your feet on a couch or a chair. Give your ankles a roll. Get those things moving. And then we're going to come up to seated. So the easiest way to do that is to just roll over onto your side and then use your hands and arms and press yourself back up. So seated, take a blanket, a beach towel, whatever you have, rolled up, legs out long, and then just tuck that blanket under your knees. So it just puts a little bend, baby bend in your knees. Maybe sway side to side, sit both sit bones down into the mat, and then flex your feet. So your toes are going to point up. And you can do this one at a time or together. I'm going to do it together for time. Pretend that someone's holding your feet and trying to keep you from moving. So very slowly, resisting, angle both feet outwards, and then angle both feet in. Really slow, like somebody's trying to pull you in the opposite direction. So this is a great way to just work on strengthening your thigh muscles on the outside and the inside thigh muscles without putting any pressure on your knees at all. If that's not comfortable, you can take your legs a little bit wider and go ahead and just really slow, pull those toes back towards you, and then very slowly resist that motion. If you have any kind of a TheraBand or like an exercise band from physical therapy, you can put around your feet and add that resistance. Do this a few times. So great way to work on outer and inner thigh strengthening as long as you resist that without actually putting any pressure on knees. So do that as long as you'd like to. Next pose is going to be called bridge pose, and this is a wonderful pose for all kind of leg strengthening. And with knee issues going on, the more you can strengthen all the muscles around those joints, the more stable you're going to be. It might not help with pain, but it's a great way to just add a lot of stability into those arthritic and sore joints. So we're going to come back to lying down again. And however you want to get down is fine. Have a yoga block handy. If you don't have a yoga block, I just rolled up a couple of towels, put a rubber band around them. You can use that as well. And walk your heels towards your rear end. So very gently. Maybe you can even touch your heels with your fingers. Take a yoga block, rolled up towel, whatever works. Put it between your inner thighs. And then from here, we're going to really work on those inner thighs muscles, because they're very, very weak compared to the outer thigh muscles. We don't often use our inner thighs. So hands to the mat or elbows down with your hands up, whichever you can do, whichever's more comfortable for you. We're going to lift our hips up towards the ceiling. But instead of just using your glutes, your butt muscles to lift your hips up, I want you to press really hard through your feet And I want you to use your leg muscles more than your butt muscles to lift up. So hands down flat or up in these robot arms. Really press your feet and use your feet to rise up. Try to not clench your butt muscles, okay? And then squeeze that block, that towel, whatever you have. And then lower down, really nice and slow. So we'll do this a few more times, and then you can do as many as you want on your own, but really think about trying to not let your rear end muscles do the work here. Plant those feet to the ground, really press, start by pressing into your toes, press into your heels, all of your feet to lift up. And then squeeze your inner thighs together. Squeeze that block. And then lower down. So you can hit pause if you'd like to. Do as many of those as is comfortable. Again, you don't need a yoga block. You can just use a rolled up towel, anything that you can squeeze between your thighs. Let's do one more. So feet first. Think about your feet. Really press those feet hard into the ground and use your legs to lift up. Try to keep your rear end muscles out of this picture. And then lower down. Okay, we're going to come up to standing. So take whatever you had between your inner thighs out and have a chair nearby, whatever works good for you to stand up, however you get there. It's kind of nice to have a chair or a couch or counter nearby, so you can just use it as a little bit of leverage to get up. So after working that bridge pose, let's do a little bit of a low back release. Let me adjust this microphone. A little bit of a low back release. So take your feet wide, a little bit wider than your hips, and bending your knees, just go ahead and lean forward. Lean your torso onto your thigh. And just kind of really take a nice deep knee bend, maybe hold on to opposite elbows, and really let your head hang heavy here. Pretend your head is a bowling ball. And just sway side to side. This is a great way to release low back tension. And then really slowly just roll up one vertebra at a time. Your head is very heavy. And all the way up. What's next? So kind of like what we did in bridge pose, we're going to do standing. We're going to go into chair pose now. So again, a block or a blanket, whatever you have handy. And we're going to come into chair pose. So go ahead and take your feet at least as wide as your hips. And put a block, rolled up towel between your inner thighs above your knees. And we're gonna just come back into chair pose, and what that means is you're gonna stick your rear end back, not your knees forward. So knees not forward. That puts all kinds of really bad pressure on your knees. You don't wanna go there. So you wanna sit your rear end back and pretend, just make sure you can look down and actually see your big toes. You wanna be able to see those toes. So you're back. You don't have to go far here. You can stay right here. You can go really low if that's comfortable. And your hands can be wherever you want them to be. At heart center, on your hips. If you really want to get an arm workout here, go ahead and take your hands overhead or in front of you and squeeze those inner thighs. And we're just going to hold this here for 30 seconds. So you're using all of your leg muscles right now and really, really, really squeeze that block or that towel between your inner thighs. This really helps with kneecap alignment, getting those inner muscles working. They're called the VMOs. Take a couple of deep breaths. And then we'll just come out of that. So again, you can do as many repetitions of that as you'd like. Our next pose is going to be Warrior Two. So if you have a wall, that would be great because you can do this against a wall and it feels really good and really stable. Otherwise, go ahead and use a chair and bring it there. So in Warrior Two, pick a foot first. We'll do both sides. You're going to step back with one foot so that your feet are perpendicular to each other. So for me, that's the front of my room. My front toes are facing forward. My back toes are perpendicular facing the side wall. And then hands on hips, square your hips sideways. So if the front of your mat is there, square your hips to the long edge of your yoga mat. And then this front knee, put a little bend in it. So your Warrior Two, just like chair, it can be right here, or you can take it really deep, whatever feels best for you. So you pick what feels good to you. This front knee, make sure you can look down and see that big front toe, because you don't want that knee to flop inwards. You want that knee to track directly over your foot. Hands out wide, arms into a T. So this is warrior two. Now here's the trick. Without moving your feet, don't move your feet, pretend like you're trying to scissor your inner thighs together. So you're just gonna really engage all of these muscles here, and you're not gonna move your feet, but you're just gonna squeeze. Really squeeze. Press both feet into the ground, and then go ahead and just release those muscles. So you can really tell the difference here. Maybe when you squeeze those inner thighs together, it actually, without moving your hips or your legs, you actually kind of grow up taller. So take a big exhale, inhale, and then squeeze those thighs together really tight. Squeeze them up. Inner thighs, and release. So you can do this standing against a wall. I'm going to step back just to show you, because for the next pose it's actually quite handy. So warrior two, leaning against a wall. You can just totally lean into a wall if it's comfortable. It helps you with that alignment. We're going to straighten out that front knee. So now both knees are straight and your feet are still perpendicular to each other. So pretend like you're up against a wall. Hands like this, lean forward, and then whichever foot is in front, that arm is going to come down towards that thigh, shin, and your other hand is going to go up into the air. So this is triangle pose. You can actually lean all the way into a wall if that's really comfortable for you. It helps with balance. And then this back hip, kind of bump it out. So we're going for like a really nice inner thigh and inner thigh stretch. If you don't have a wall, you can always just come to right here. Just hold on to a chair. Kind of lean your torso over and really feel a stretch in this outer hip here and on the inner thigh here. And then come back up, rebend that front knee, and then step forward to the front of the mat. So we'll do the other side. I'm moving my chair. So this time you're going to step back with your opposite leg. And I've turned around so that I'm still facing the camera, but you don't need to turn around if you don't want to. So step back with the opposite foot. So your feet as far apart as is comfortable for you. Bend that front knee. Take your hips and square them side to the side wall, to the long edge of your mat if you have a yoga mat. Check that front knee. Make sure you can look down and see your big toe. Arms out wide into a T. Take a big, nice deep breath. And then again, here's the trick with the inner thighs. Without moving your hips or feet, squeeze those inner thighs like you're trying to pull your legs together, but they're not actually going anywhere. Squeeze those inner thighs. Really nice and tight, and then release that. We'll do that again. Squeeze those inner thighs again. You're not actually moving anywhere, but you're engaging all those muscles. And then release that. And go ahead and drop your arms. We're going to come into that triangle pose again. So your front knee, straighten it out. If this is hard, you can step that back foot up. Make your feet a little bit closer together. Lean up against a wall or use a chair. So arms out into a T. And then whichever foot is in front, reach that hand towards the front and then lower that hand down to your front leg. So maybe come to a chair, maybe your thigh, your shin, reach that other arm up overhead. So this is a great stretch for the outer thigh here and then the inner thigh here. Pretend, if you're not against a wall, pretend like you are. So really flat back. Make sure that this upper shoulder doesn't flop forward. You want it really open up across your chest and your heart. Triangle pose. And then go ahead and come out of that. Rebend that front knee. And we're going to step back forward. So do a little balance. Balance is great for proprioception, kind of helping you figure out where you are in space. And we'll do this with both legs. So again, have a chair handy or couch, kitchen counter, whatever works for you. So plant one foot down. Shift your weight onto that foot. Lift your toes up, spread them out, set them back down. So really ground into one foot. Your other foot can just be right here as a kickstand with your heel on your ankle, toes on the floor, right here. And this leg is going to open up a little bit. Hold on if you need to. I do on this leg. So if that's comfortable for you, you can just stay right here. You can also raise that foot up to your calf and then think about keeping your balance on one foot. Your hands can be wherever they're comfortable. So hands on hips. Maybe this helps you with balance. Palms together at heart center, whatever works for you. Hold on if you want to. And then really pay attention to all the muscles in your foot and your leg. They're all just making these tiny little micro adjustments to help you stay upright. So this is a great way to coordinate all of the muscles in your legs and your feet at the same time, because they're forced to all work together to stand up straight. Then we'll go ahead and release that and switch sides. So I'm going to move my chair to this side. We'll try the other foot now. So the opposite foot, really root that foot down into the ground. Lift up those toes, spread them out, set them back down. So really ground that foot down. And then same as on the other side, your opposite leg can stay right here as a kickstand with your toes on the mat. This leg is going to open up. It's probably not going to come all the way over, so just wherever's comfortable for your hip. And then if that's comfortable, you can take that foot to your inner thigh. Please don't take this foot onto the side of your knee. This foot should not connect with the knee. Knees are not meant to have sideways pressure put on them. So you stay right here. And again, you can hold on. Hands on hips. Arms out wide, palms together. And then for just a moment, really think about all the muscles in your feet and legs. You'll probably feel all these little muscles firing all over up and down your leg and your foot. So this is really, really good for coordination and balance. Tree pose. And then we'll release that. And to end, we're going to come into my favorite stretch. And this is just a really great stretch. I do this pretty much at the end of every yoga class. However you want to get there, we're going to come back down to the mat. So you can hold onto a chair to get down. We're going to come to lying down all the way. And so go ahead and lay down. Bring your heels up towards your rear end, like we did getting into chair pose. Arms out wide. And then lift your hips up just about an inch and shift them about 3 inches to the left. And then let both knees fall over to the right. So both shoulder blades stay on the mat here. You're looking up overhead, but both of your knees are over and this left hip is popped up off the ground. If you want to, you can put a blanket or a block between those knees if that's more comfortable. Just really enjoy this stretch here across your low back, across your hip. Just take a couple of deep breaths. I know when I have a lot of knee pain myself, my back tends to get really tense. And then we'll switch sides. So bring your feet back up, knees up towards the ceiling, straighten out your spine again. Maybe wiggle your knees back and forth a little bit, and then we'll come to the opposite side. So press your feet into the mat, lift your hips up an inch, shift them 3 inches to the right, and then let both knees fall over to the left. So both shoulder blades are going to stay on the mat, but this right hip is going to pop up. And you can put something between your knees if that's more comfortable. So just really enjoy this stretch. Take a couple of nice deep breaths. And then bring both knees back up towards the ceiling. Lift up your hips and straighten out your spine again. Lastly, we'll take both knees towards your chest. Maybe roll side to side again, same way we started. And take your feet up towards the ceiling, roll out your ankles. And then just relax. And I hope this helped. It's all pretty gentle. It's all pretty knee friendly. It's really good for strengthening. Particularly, I did a lot on inner thighs. What happens a lot is that my kneecaps don't track correctly, and our outer quads are so much stronger than the inside, and that actually can cause kneecaps to track sideways. So I did a lot of inner thigh work, and that just helps stabilize the whole joint all around. So it's not going to fix your arthritis, but it's just going to keep that joint more stable overall. So I hope you enjoyed that. Let me know. Any comments, please shoot them below in the comments. Let me know, get in touch with me. Anything else, let me know, because I really love doing this. I have so much fun. Thanks for meeting me on my mat.